Welcome back to another episode of Stories with Heath. I have a Jim Dandy of a story to tell y'all today. It's one of my favorites, and I hope you get something out of it. And if you are getting something out of these stories, we greatly appreciate you taking a moment to share. The liking and subscribing and all that helps, but sharing is what we need the most. It helps the YouTube and the Facebook stuff. We really appreciate the help we're getting. We're getting good traction on Facebook, but we need some help on YouTube. So if you can help us out, we'd greatly appreciate it, because we want to be able to help people. We want to be able to make a difference in people's lives, and we hope that that's what these videos are able to do. The story, I'm going to take you back to a time where I'm going to try to tell these two stories as cleanly as I can. I'm not going to name any more names than I have to, but we're going to try to get through these as best I can. Back in my college days, in my high school days, I guess a little bit, but mostly my college days, I was struggling to understand the true nature of what love really was. And I was really in love with the idea of being in love, and I didn't really know what love meant or what it should be, and I was making a lot of bad decisions, and I was looking for something that I couldn't quite find, and had been dating a particular individual off and on for a while, and it was rocky to say the least. She was not nearly as into me as I was into her, and that's no fault of anybody's. It's just what it was. And I felt like I was getting mistreated in the deal. And I would tell everybody who would listen how dirty I had been done and how forlorn I was. And I was really soaking up this idea of being a walking Hank Williams song. And one day I was in the back room of my place of employment, the Piggly Wiggly, there in Bay Springs, Mississippi, and I was there sharing my story to a coworker, and she looked at me and just said, "Sounds like you need to grow up," and got up and walked out. I could not believe, sitting around the break room table, somebody would speak to me in such a way and hurt me so, because surely she didn't know how much pain that I had been in, and how miserable and pitiful I was, and how much I deserved her empathy. I found out later she doesn't have any, but that's a different story. So we're there, and I'm upset, and the next day I'm walking down the pickle aisle, and she's walking up the pickle aisle, and as I meet her, it occurs to me just how mean she is, and downright nasty, and just even hateful. And as I'm thinking these negative thoughts about her, a voice inside my head that was not my own voice, it said to me, "You're going to marry that girl someday." I said, "I am not." Do you know what she said to me? Do you know how mean she is, what way she treated me? And by then we had passed one another, and I turned around and I looked back at her, and just as I looked back at her, she looked back over her shoulder at me and gave me a little, like I wasn't worthy of a whole, just a smirky, shruggy, whatever, like that rubbed me way the wrong way. And it was in that moment that I decided, you know what, maybe I will marry that girl. And I did, and that's a whole different story. But it wasn't until I got to thinking about it that I realized that what I was hearing was not my voice. It was God's voice. And it was the first time outside of the moment in which I was convicted that I needed to be born again, and I didn't hear his voice in the same way. I knew things that I didn't know before in that moment. In this moment, it was a voice, and it was a verbal voice. And I told y'all about him sitting down in the car with me and having the conversation with me, coming back from USM that day. And so that was the second real time that I heard God's voice. The third time I very clearly heard God's voice, I was at a Primerica annual or semi-annual, biannual, whatever it is, convention. And it was every other year, I think it was, that they did those. And my first year working with Primerica, I went to this convention. There's 55,000 people in the Georgia Dome. And there's Mike Landrum up on the stage. And Mike Landrum he's from the kind of Landrum's Crossing community south of Laurel. And he's a famous football player, probably a big fish in a small pond, small fish in a big pond, no, big fish in a small pond. And he was something. And in Primerica circles, I mean, he had it all. He was charismatic, he was muscular, he was athletic, he was all these things. Him and his wife was a dynamo too, and it was like a Ken and Barbie doll, and they had a bunch of kids, and I think they had 5 at the time, and as I sat there, this guy's making hundreds of thousands, if not millions now a year. I don't know his business anymore, but it was very public how much revenue that he would bring in, because they wanted people to know that things were possible, and things are possible. And this is not a statement against Primerica. The company's good, the people are good. I don't have a problem with it. But I'm sitting there looking at this guy on stage, and I heard that voice say to me, one day, you're going to be bigger than Mike Landrum. Mike Landrum's standing on the stage in front of 50,000 people, 55,000, whatever it was, and everybody's cheering as he's talking, and he's telling people about the freedom that they could have, financially speaking. I didn't know what that meant. I thought it meant I was supposed to go on and get or continue on this path as an insurance agent, and things were going to work out. That's what I thought it meant. It's not what happened. While I don't have anything against the company, it's not where I was supposed to be. And God took me on a different path. And it took breaking me to get me on the path that He wanted me on. And now I look back and I realize that I'm never really going to know this side of eternity the results of all of the ripples that I've been able to create in this pond of life. Of all of the conversations I've had around somebody's campfire or their kitchen table, random encounters on the street, of all of the opportunities I've had to share the gospel, to see people's lives change, to see the freedom that they could get, not just from their finances, but the freedom they could get from being freed from the consequences, the eternal consequences of their sin. To know that people, that their trajectory has been changed, and because their trajectory has been changed, they're out now sharing the truth and the gospel, and they're making disciples too. To realize that one day I'm going to stand before God Almighty. I'm going to know the impact that my life had. It's humbling. But I'm glad I don't know now. And I'm glad I don't know, because I'm afraid if I did, I would get cocky. See, it's really simple. when God says something like, hey, you're going to marry this person. And I'm not saying that everybody has that, but idea. It's really simple. I was having a conversation with a guy I'm trying to help about the frustration he's having. And he said this, and I hope he doesn't mind me telling the story. He said that, I don't understand why everything has to be a mystery. And as I'm talking with him, I said this without thinking it, but as I said it, I am blown away by how deep it is. It's not that it has to be a mystery. It gets to be a mystery. God doesn't make it a mystery because it has to be. He makes it a mystery because he wants it to be that way. Because by being a mystery, it allows us to not know everything. To not know the impact of what we're doing. To not know whether what we're doing is working or not always. To not know whether... To have to put thought into trying to understand and grapple with the truths that he's telling us, to stumble and bumble and try and to fail sometimes, and to sometimes succeed, and to get to the end and be excited to find out the truth of how to do. I remember in college there were classes that would post grades on a sheet. And being scared to death and excited to get to go look at that sheet to see whether the work that I had put in paid off. Our walk with Christ, it doesn't have to be a mystery. It gets to be a mystery. The anticipation, the excitement as you find and learn new things. I'm probably going to talk more about this getting to be a mystery thing, but the more I dig into it, the more amazed I am at how deep it is. If you're out there and you're struggling because you just don't understand and you just don't know which way's up and you just don't know what you're supposed to be doing, I want to tell you that don't be discouraged. If it were easy, you probably wouldn't appreciate it. It gets to be a mystery because by being a mystery, it's something that we can work toward, and we can be proud as we make our achievements and make progress. So I want to tell you, I love you. I appreciate you listening. This one's kind of long. I appreciate you listening. I hope this makes a difference for you, and I hope you keep pushing, and I hope you keep trying to understand, and I hope you don't get discouraged, because I'm telling you, you're making ripples on the pond. Just keep moving. Keep doing. Keep working. All right, hang in there. Bye-bye.